So how this works is usually I have something to talk about, or I just answer questions, and then we sit for a long period of time. But because so many of you here, this is the first time you've sat with me, I want to explain what the whole 3 hour sitting thing is about. So in these calls and in the sits, you're able to enter when you want and leave when you want. So this is the first time many of you have ever sat with me, so I really don't expect any of you to sit with me for the whole 3 hours. But basically, you can see it like this. Once a week, you will have 3 hours if you choose to actually really just do nothing but practice, do nothing but notice, do nothing but deepen the continuity of your awareness. The issue with most of our meditation is that we rarely sit long enough to actually ever get over the five hindrances. So the five hindrances are the main obstacles in meditation practice. They're delineated in Theravada Buddhism. So it's sensual desire, restlessness or worry. I believe the third one is sloth and torpor. One of them is anger or irritation. And the last one is doubt. So these are like when you have doubt in meditation or when you have irritation, you can know that this is one of the classic hindrances that all meditators experience, that they all have to deal with pretty much until they're awake, until they're fully enlightened. Even a person, I had a teacher who's done like 15 years in retreat in Thailand, and I asked him, like, do you still suffer from the five hindrances? And he's like, yeah, I get sleepy sometimes. I mean, I have a big meal, I still get sleepy. So it's normal. The reason I do these 3 hour sessions and present it this way is because that gives you enough time to actually get past these initial hurdles and really experience a deeper meditation, in the sense that your continuity is finally able to become more established. Like in the first 30 minutes or hour of a sit, like you're still sleepy, you're tired, you're in and out of it, your head's bobbing, right? The second hour, your noticing starts to become more continuous. Whatever your practice is actually starts to become more continuous. One moment to the next, boom, 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 boom. By the third hour, you begin to experience the unbroken nature of your mind, the unbroken continuity in the natural state. So there's not an actual one particular way or method that I teach or that I recommend to everyone, because I have a background in many different teachings and many different practices. But fundamentally, and most importantly, the main practice is to just notice. So for today, since we're not going to go into some like particulars of a meditation practice, we'll save that for next week. Today I'll just like be throwing you, into the wilderness so you can see how it is. And you can just notice the body. So be aware of the body when we start the meditation portion. Aware that your body's breathing, aware that your body's walking, aware that you're turning, aware that you're sitting down, aware that you're getting up, aware that the abdomen is expanding, aware that the abdomen is contracting on the out breath. So what do I mean by awareness? So we can demonstrate this for everyone, okay? So all of you hold out your hands like this. Okay. Okay. Now become attentive. Feel your hands. You're feeling your hands from one moment to the next. You're feeling the palms of your hands. You're feeling, you're feeling, you're feeling. Become aware of the feelings in the hands. Okay. Continue. And you don't need to use any strain, by the way. Just keep noticing. Now, while continuing to feel your hands, I want all of you to feel the bottoms of your feet. So now you're feeling both hands and both feet. Feeling the hands, feeling the feet, noticing hands and feet. Now, while feeling the hands and the feet, notice the rising of the abdomen on the in-breath and the falling of the abdomen on the out-breath. Hands, feet, and stomach. Notice and notice. All right, so you can put your hands down, release your attention from your hands and feet, and now just notice the body breathing. Feel the body breathing. Don't make your body breathe, but just notice that it's doing this. Keep noticing. Relax. Knowing, being aware of the expansion, the rising, and the falling. Okay. So you could release the attention now. You don't have to pay attention to the abdomen breathing anymore. So when I had you pay attention to your palms and to your feet and to your abdomen, that is attention. So when consciousness becomes localized on a specific area, this is what we refer to as attention. Generally also lumped in with the term mindfulness, like your mind is being directed at something, it becomes full of that something. That's mindfulness, right? So there's the attention, and then there's the awareness, which knows the attention. This knowingness, this awareness, this noticing is all that we're developing continuity in. Initially, we're under the impression that this awareness is an action. It's something that we're giving rise to. Later, or for some of you, depends how long you've been doing this for. Some of you may already be in the understanding that awareness is already the case. It's not something that needs to be produced or manufactured, and it's specifically separate from attention. No, I wouldn't say separate, but attention emerges out of awareness, out of mind. It's not like you could be aware without having attention localized on anything in particular, and you can also be aware with attention localizing consciousness on a specific object. So this is part of I could call it the 3-speed transmission of awakening or something like that. So you can see it you can see, mode one as your awareness is directed outward, directed at the physical body, directed at the breath, directed at the sensations on the bottom of your feet as you're walking, for example. This is mode one, and we just demonstrated it. So now we can demonstrate mode two. So mode two is look at awareness itself. So if mode one, the arrow is directed this way, outward this way into the experiential field, mode two is to actually look this way at the knowingness, at the awareness itself. So we can do that now for a few seconds. Just if you can, notice awareness or notice consciousness, that which knows. So you can see this as it's like an inward turn, or it's an inward look at your mind. The mind is usually directed outward at phenomena. Now you turn it inward to look at itself. This is really the function of self-inquiry. Like self-inquiry, it doesn't matter what the question is. The point is to look inward. That is its function. So we can do this now. Just if you can, just turn inward and look at, quote, the observer or consciousness or awareness. And I don't want you to fabricate anything. Just look at what is here. And let's do this for a minute or so. Mind looks at mind. Relax, just look. Turning knowing in on itself. Noticing. Aware of awareness. Smile slightly and continue to notice. Just watching mind. Thoughts come and go, nothing needs to be done about them. Just be aware. All right, so we're about to emerge from this. Just give yourself a few more seconds. All right, so open your eyes and if you can for the rest of this, continue to have your attention directed at the knowing. Continue to be aware of awareness, even though I'm talking, even though you're looking at the screen. Have this inversion, maintain it for a little bit longer. So this is really all that you're doing. I mean, it seems like ridiculously simple. Like, how could this possibly be it? But this is really just it. So the third mode is called released awareness. So this is more of Dzogchen type practice where you're not doing anything with the mind at all. There's no inward turn. There's no directing of attention. There's nothing that you're trying to do at all. Zero. So we're gonna do that now. So with mode 3, I want you to keep your eyes open. All right. So sit here, eyes opened, and just don't do anything. The noticing or the awareness is not directed outward. It's not directed inward. You're releasing attention, releasing any doing. Just relax and give your mind permission to wander. Let it go. Just rest. You can smile. Undirected awareness. Just let everything be exactly as it is. Okay. So with this mode 3, the undirected awareness, um, depends on where you are in your practice, but some of you might have just been like, what is this? Like, what am I doing? So that's it. The point, begin to see that your mind is obsessed with activity. It literally can't not do anything. And hopefully your time with me will end that. So this reaching thing that the mind is always doing, it's always attempting to create, always attempting to do, always attempting to control. It's really this that a lot of our suffering spins around. So in the third mode, when you're really not doing anything, the inherent illumination of the experiential field manifests clearly. So it's actually this doing nature, this controlling nature, this personality structure. It's so solid that the illumination of the field is something we're ignorant of. And gradually, through practice and through deepening your understanding, this solidity of I becomes thinner and thinner until the inherent illumination bursts forth. So most meditation techniques are derivatives or configurations of mode 1 and mode 2. So like the 40 methods that the Buddha taught in the Theravada corpus, the skeleton meditation, mindfulness of breathing, Mahasi style noting practice, 4 elements meditation, blah, blah, blah. These are all mode 1. So consciousness awareness is directed at an object. The reason that is done is because by using an object, the mind is able to, the localization of consciousness allows for the overcoming of the hindrances for many practitioners. Overcoming of the hindrances and the increasing of the enlightenment factors. So in Buddhism, that refers to equanimity, mindfulness, rapture, which means happiness or very powerful happiness. Another is energy. So there are qualities, wholesome qualities that arise in the mind stream as a result of right mindfulness and right meditation. And those support the deepening of the awakening and the deepening of the seeing and noticing that is characteristic of this whole process. So the non-dual traditions, most of those techniques are mode 2. So if you notice with this exercise of just looking at the mind, that is the essence of self-inquiry. The reason you're given a question is because just looking at the mind may be too much of a subtle thing to do. I assumed that many of you would be able to do it. I'm sure that for a couple, maybe it didn't make any sense. But, bear with me. It'll take some time. So all the self-inquiry practices of who am I, where am I, what is this, that is all the inward look. That is all just mind taking mind as the object. The third method of the complete abandon and total non-doing, that, for example, when some of you did that, you may have just felt that you weren't even meditating, that nothing was even happening. It's like, well, this is just what I'm like at work. So if that's the case, work more on mode 1 and 2, or either mode 1 or mode 2. The idea is that once this recognition of consciousness is clearer, this recognition of awareness is clearer to you, then when you actually release attention, that becomes very prominent. I mean, that is the case in mode 3. Like in mode 3, it's an undirected awareness. But if you don't really have the sense of what I mean by awareness, then mode 3 doesn't work. So there has to be more emphasis on mode 2. If mode 2 is too subtle, you need to work with a technique like mindfulness of breathing or the skeleton practice or whatever it is. So wherever you are in your practice, and as you can see, these groups aren't too big. I'm still able to communicate with people one-on-one through emails or through WhatsApp or whatever. And to the best of my ability, I can help you, get to where mode 2 and mode 3 actually make sense and actually work. If you have the sense of, if you are able to look at mind and you understand this fundamental nature that is awareness, then really the only thing for you to do is continue in that. That's really it. The issue is that we don't give ourselves enough time for the mind to become undistracted. It's only when the mind becomes undistracted, either in a momentary glimpse or in a longer period, where this recognition of awareness being inseparable from the experiential field is possible. And that's something that I talked about in the Angelo video that all of you listened to. There was a moment where awareness and its object were realized as being simultaneously arise in the same moment. The sound is awareness, the sight is awareness, the taste is awareness. The body sensations, they're all awake. Everything is awake. So this is already the case. It's already the case that you can't separate consciousness from its objects. You can't separate knowing from sensation. The knowing and the sensation arise in the same moment, but this is not absolutely clear, or it's not unshakable yet for most practitioners. Once you come to the knowing that everything is a configuration of mind and everything by its nature is awake, then mode 3 is your baseline, and you use whatever techniques, whatever methods, just to get over the 5 hindrances, right? And if your samadhi or your continuity of mindfulness, your enlightenment factors are really strong, then you don't need techniques. So for me, cessation is not essential to this process, in my opinion. A lot of Theravadins would disagree with me on that, but for example, the capacity to enter cessation of perception and feeling, I'll define it first. So in the Theravada meditation system, you have these states called jhanas. There are the light jhanas that are characteristic of certain practices like tranquil wisdom insight meditation, also known as TWIM. Those are light jhanas. So if you feel happiness and your mind is aware, and you're experiencing some degree of clarity and bliss, that constitutes as the first jhana. So according to these lighter standards. The other kind of jhana is the jhana that's based on the commentaries of the Buddhist literature. So that means that your mind becomes so still that a specific sign or mental object arises in the mind, like a sphere of light, for example. And that object is so tangibly there in the mind's eye that you become absorbed in it. And when you become absorbed in it, the jhana factors of equanimity, tranquility, attention, sustained attention, directed attention, all of these explode in their maturation automatically, because it's a very deep absorption. So there are 8 of these in the Theravada system. and they culminate in a state called the cessation of perception and feeling. So it means that your mind gets so still that the experiential field actually vanishes and rearises. It's the first break in experience that you'll ever have, besides sleep and fainting. But what's characteristic about cessation is that before one enters it, the mind's capacity of generating intentions, shifting attention, wandering, all of this stops. Like those functions shut down by the virtue and the power of the stillness of this level of meditation. And once that occurs, you're very close. The mind hurtles towards its own vanishing. It vanishes, it reappears, and that is cessation. There's an actual break in the experiential field and an immediate rearising. So this is really characteristic of the Theravada system. It's not emphasized at all really in Zen and in Dzogchen or Mahamudra. But for example, when you're established more in mode 3, like your mind is already come to a place where it doesn't cling as much. Now that you're able to reside and abide in non-doing, you're able to, if you give yourself longer periods of meditation, longer periods of time, the settling is able to go so deep that these cessations or deeper insights into the nature of experience are possible. Honestly, I don't even remember how this was related to what I was talking about previously, but I get maybe someone in here had questions about cessation, so that's why I brought it up. I don't know. But anyways, the reason that the continuity of awareness isn't like already the case for everyone is because the mind stream or the stream of thought and mental activity is chaotic. There's so much movement. You're aware for a few seconds, and then your mind, your attention goes off into some other thing. Then you're aware for a few seconds, attention goes off again. Boom. And this is what's happening most of meditation. You're here, then you're not. You're here, then you're not. You're here for a while, then you're not. Boom, boom. This thing keeps happening. What is it that draws the mind out of awareness? It could be anything that really captures our attention. But what captures our attention most are the things that we have craving or clinging for. So it's those things that constantly take our attention out of awareness. So a good question to ask yourself as a meditator, as a practitioner, is what is my mind wandering to? And to really know that and see it happening. And you begin to understand yourself more, understand the mechanics of your mind more, understand where your attention goes, and possibly even why. All of that can be revealed, but only if you're actually looking. So that's all that this process is. It's just noticing what's already happening, noticing what's already the case. When you do the inward turn and you look at mind, it's not like you have to generate mind. That's not what's happening. You're not generating mind. You're generating the inward turn. You're not generating mind. Your mind is the case. I mean, it's literally continuous. The experiential field is continuous. It doesn't stop. Something is always happening. Even in sleep, you just don't remember it. But you become an expert dream yogi, and you'll get the recall. You'll be able to remain aware in dreamless sleep and in dreams. So it's really this just seeing what is in whatever area. Whole experiential field, looking at mind, you don't have to generate consciousness. It's already the case. The more you become familiar with this, the more orientation there is towards the entirety of the experiential field, the more orientation there is towards what is, the less fixation there will be on what was, what might be, what could be, what I think is, less orientation, less fixation on the personality structure. And you begin to see that really the story or the narrative, it's not that we have to make it go away. At a certain point, it does become irrelevant, but that narrative and stream of mentation itself is awake. The same way that when you felt your body and you did the inward turn and you looked at and consciousness was looking at itself and it has this awareness awake thing, every single aspect of the experiential field has that same awakeness. Thought is awake. The sensations on my tongue are awake. You can feel it when you feel the aliveness of your hands, the awakeness of your hands. Your hands are awake. You can't, once your attention is on these hands, you can't separate where consciousness is from its object. So the more you begin to just notice what is, the more this understanding becomes apparent. And the more apparent and deep the understanding becomes, the more liberated you are from the relative and from the conditioned aspects of experience, like the personality narrative and who you think you are in time and all of that. You'll see all of those. You'll come to know all of those things as configurations of your nature. Your mind appears as the narrative. Your mind appears as a good dream. It appears as a bad dream. It appears as a neutral dream. It appears as life. It appears as death. It appears as this process, as that process. When you're doing the skeleton meditation, your mind appears as you doing the skeleton meditation. When you have a dream and you're meditating in the dream, you're lucid, your mind is appearing as you meditating in a lucid dream. Your mind doesn't have a nature, but it appears as everything. The only way to come and know this as an experiential truth is to notice experience. Notice, 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 notice. And it's not, in my view, that you're trying to get anywhere. I mean, there are stages of awakening. Let's be clear on that, right? There are stages. There is a gradual or instantaneous letting go, destruction of clinging, destruction of craving at the very further end of this developmental spectrum. The very, 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 very awakened. They're not even localized in time in their perception. So there are stages. We're not going to pretend that that's not the case. Some people will say there's none, and I disagree with them. The part where I agree is that the mind appears as all stages, every single stage. The mind appears as this conversation you and I are having. It appeared as the dream you had last night. It's going to appear as a dream that you have tonight. It's going to appear as the awakening that manifests in whatever, the collapse of duality that may happen to you at some point, or that has already happened. It will manifest as the craving-free state that may arise at some point. It will manifest as non-locality if that becomes the case for you. So in that sense, there are no stages. But there's still the manifestation at the relative level with distinguishing characteristics that we can define. So that being said, this is the fundamental point, that your nature is all of this. And the only function of the methods, the only reason to sit with someone, the only reason to practice is to just notice what is already the case. And this, what I just said being the case, gradually becomes very, very clearly understood. The egoic structure, the personality structure that is attempting to understand you see that as an arising within the experiential field. The you, the me, the structures in the mind that are reaching for the future, that are reaching for some state, for something special to happen. You see that even those structures in consciousness are in consciousness and that they themselves are awake. Your wanting to get enlightened itself is awake. Your afflictions, the fears, whatever, every problem that you have, because it's an aspect of the experiential field, its inherent nature is illumination, is awake. So I think we can take a couple questions, and then we will practice for a long time. And how I do these 3-hour sits is I just sit here, and then when my legs hurt, I get up and I walk, and then I sit here again, and then when my legs hurt, I get up and I walk, and then I sit here again. Sometimes I just sit here and I don't move. It just depends on how deep I am in the meditation or how willing I am to undergo the pain. But that's what it is. All that you're doing is mode 1, 2, or 3. And for the particulars, like if a lot of this didn't make sense, please just email me and you and I can go back and forth and find out what works for you. Yeah, so it's kind of like for 3 hours, you don't have anything to do. There's no constraints on your time, no constraints on your consciousness. There's nothing that you're trying to create. There's nowhere that you're trying to get. You just be here. And this is really the mandala for you, that you give yourself some time to really be, unfabricated. You don't have to do anything or think anything or try anything. You just keep noticing. So, and it's unstructured. So for me, you're just going to see me sitting and then going like this. You'll just see like feet walking, right? Occasionally, like however long it takes for me to go around the room. And for me, I'm just doing probably today just like not doing anything, just walking and sitting and walking and sitting. So drenched in the inherent illumination of the experiential field. So that's that. But you don't have to stay any longer than you're able to, or you can leave whenever you want. Like if you just came for the talk, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Or if you're only going to sit for 15 minutes because that's all that you're able to, or that's all that you want to, that's okay. You can leave whenever you like, or leave, come back. Because it's 3 hours is a long time, you can leave, come back. Another way to look at this time also is because it's unstructured, so you could just see this as like Dharma Hall time. Not everyone wants to meditate in the Dharma Hall. Like some people just want to write and like chill. So if you want to do that, I'm not going to force you to meditate, but you can do what you want in this time. Just have it be unstructured and unfabricated. I just sit and walk. I don't do anything else, but it's useful to really have some time to be able to do that. And, it's normal that after a sit or a walk, you can write down how that was for you. I usually do like 40 minutes sitting, 20 minutes walking. I do that 3 times and the night's over or the morning's over, wherever the hell I am. It's over after that. But if I'm on a retreat and I'm gonna enter cessation or something, you'll see me like not move for 3 hours. So it just depends on what I'm doing or where I'm at. It varies. So yeah, don't be intimidated by 3 hours. Like you're like, oh my God, like 3 hours. Like how could I ever do something like that? Like that's such a long time. Time only exists in thought. fuck time, you'll be okay. You just put that aside and notice, and do that from 1 minute to the next, 1 moment to the next. You might have this like, I want you to actually see the part of your mind that resists this, like that part of you that like trembles in the face of 3 hours. Like, come on, you've done harder stuff. It'll be okay. You just relax and you just keep walking. It's really that simple. You just relax and you keep walking. You just relax and you keep sitting. You're not going to die. Nothing's going to happen. You'll be fine. The reason it's important is because it really does take an hour for most people to start to experience this flow of meditation, for your enlightenment factors to come to the forefront, for your equanimity to kick in, for your rapture to kick in, for your energy enlightenment factor to kick in. All that stuff kicks in, and then bang, like 3 hours is over. And it wasn't hard. I've had students that initially told me, there's no way I will sit for 3 hours. I made him sit for 6 hours, and then I made him sit for 24 hours. And he is a freaking awesome practitioner now. So, so it's like these limits, they're really in your head. It's not that sitting for 24 hours is going to get you enlightened or whatever, or sitting for 3 hours and get you enlightened, or sitting for 6 hours and get you enlightened. The case is that the experiential field already is enlightened, already illuminated. You're just noticing what is the case, like, toss out the idea of illumination, toss out the idea of awake, toss out anything I've said, anything Angelo said, anything anyone has ever said, and you just notice experience. And it'll all unfold. So you just do that. And you'll see the difference. Yeah. Are there any questions? There's probably a lot of questions. But we can take a couple, and then we'll late start.
I got a question for you, Ryan.
Yeah.
So when you say mind noticing the mind, or awareness, so where I get stuck is I tend to objectify mind. So it's, I can't let go of the observer. So what I'll do is maybe I'll notice my mind, but then I only notice the mind because of the content in the mind. So so I objectify it rather than notice the subjectivity of again, awareness. So
yeah. So your attention will get distracted into the content, right?
Right.
When that happens, you just turn back at awareness, and this turning back is going to have to keep happening,
right,
until it stabilizes.
So it's sort of like if I'm looking into a mirror, I'll
Yeah.
see myself, but I've already objectified myself as a thing in the mirror. So it's like, moonbeams on the ocean. It's still a thing in my mind. I mean, I get it. It's ultimately it's conceptualization. I can't. I guess what I'm saying is I can't step outside of the thinking mind. I mean, I can do it occasionally, but then as soon as I think I posted in the chat, as soon as I realize, oh, I'm awareness, then I'm like, I just realized I'm awareness, so I'm back in again self-awareness. So I've reified it all over. It's just
yeah. So like, you have the thought, I'm awareness, right?
Right.
So you're just being that which knows that thought. That's it. So
Okay.
we're just looking at that which knows.
Okay.
Right? Like, there's your mind that is able to know one thought from the other, right? Yeah, so you're just looking at that knowing. That's it. That's mode 2.
Right.
So you just do that again. You return to you notice this again and again and again and again. You walk in it, you sit in it. You don't make a big deal out of it, you don't try to force yourself to be there, but you just keep noticing that knowing again and again and again. That's all that you're doing for mode 2.
Okay. So
Yeah. So
just
when
keep
you
doing
have,
it.
yeah, just keep doing it. So when you have the thought, I am awareness, like that's fine. Like that's just your commentating aspect of your consciousness. So there's nothing you need to do about it. There's not a problem that you said that or that your mind said that, right? Like not a big deal. You just keep looking back at that which knows that which
Okay.
knows thought I am awareness. You just keep returning to that.
And if the judge wants to judge me for it and say, "Oh, you blew it," you
Yeah,
you lost it.
yeah, and you do for like a second, or like however long, maybe a couple minutes, you like get caught into your attention goes into the mentation, to the stream of thought that's gonna happen, and then you just return back to the knowing,
Okay.
and that's it. Yeah, it's your mind is gonna do that. It's gonna go into the stream of thought and blah blah. You just
Okay.
to looking at your mind. That's really it. Just it's these words, looking at your mind. Yeah. You're looking at that which knows.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Ryan, can you repeat what mode 1 is?
Yeah. Mode 1 is using any meditation object, pretty much.
Okay.
So whether it's a mantra or whether you're being aware of your body, like feeling your body, feeling your whole body from one moment to the next, feeling the body breathing. Anything where the attention is directed outward is mode 1. So most meditation techniques, mantra, visualization, uh, all of that, those are all like outwardly directed methods. So anything that's outwardly directed is mode 1. Yeah.
And how
And
long do you,
I do use mode 1, by the way. So it's not like mode 1 is anything wrong with that. Yeah.
and how long do you spend in each one? Is there a specific time?
For me, like today, I'm just not going to be doing anything. So that's mode 3, right? Unfabricated awareness. For people who already you're already established in awareness, already have an understanding of what that is. Um, you don't have to do anything. You just like sit, be aware, walk, be aware, sit again, be aware, walk again, be aware. You just continue in this awareness. Yeah.
Oh, so you're not necessarily having to go through each mode. You don't
No,
go from 1 and then into 2 into 3.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
No, I just demonstrated the 3 for all the people, for everyone here, so that they have a sense of which one they're inclined to. Yeah, because some of the people in here probably are working on the jhanas. So if you are one of those people, then I'm saying it's fine. You could do mode 1. You could just do your mindfulness of breathing or mantra or whatever it is. You don't have to practice any specific way in these sessions, just as long as, because each mode, the fundamental case is that awareness is the case in all of the modes. Like in mode 3, it's just unfabricated awareness. In mode 2, it's looking at awareness. In mode 1, it's directing awareness at a meditation object, but it's all awareness.
Right. Okay. Good. That clarifies it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Let's do one more question.
quick question about, so when you say mind, you're referring not to the content of mind, but that which is aware of the content. Is that what you're calling mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little confusing. Like, I may use the same, I might like use the same word. So for example, there's mind as that which knows the content. And then like later you might hear me say that even that knowing, it's like the mind has this knowing nature, but there's not always recognition of it. So the recognition can come and go. Like your mind doesn't actually wander, but your attention does. Like you always have experience, right? Experience is always present unless you're fainted or asleep. And that just means that you don't remember what is happening. But the mind / experience is continuous. So that this knowing thing we call mind, or this thing we call experience, is continuous. You've never had an experience outside of mind. None of us have. We never had an experience outside of experience, right? So, but yeah, mind is just referring, when I say mind, I'm just referring to that which knows. So does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like what you said about how what you just said, you said it in the interview too, like mind doesn't change or something, it's attention that move, mind doesn't move, attention, it's attention that moves.
Yep.
But like I think I'm getting confused because when I think of like in mode 1, for example, we're paying attention to the content or we're directing attention to specific content, right? But then it's not the content that's important. It's not even the attention that's important. It seems like what's important is that which is aware of
Everything. Yeah.
both. Yeah, like yeah,
Yeah.
behind all of that. Okay.
That's right.
And that's
Yeah.
the mode 2 that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. To direct attention.
Okay.
Mode 2. That's exactly correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's like the background or the container.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You're just noticing,
Okay.
and it's directed at that, and eventually at some point even the turning inward is too coarse, it's too like fabricated, and then it falls away, and then you're just the awareness is undirected in mode 3. Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
piggyback
Oh, go ahead.
to clarify, if I can, is it the same to just recognize that there is? It's like almost like the question, like, is there something? And the knowingness that there is the place of looking instead of being fixated on the appearance. Like, is there appearance and just the immediate recognition that there is something, there is experience, there is. To me, that feels like the mode 2 is that still arriving at the same, what you're calling that which knows.
It's for so like the mode 2 is just a technique, right? It's just like this inward look. What you're saying for like noticing the presence of experience, it's more of like a diffused, right? It's not particularly directed, is what you're saying. Yeah, that's more mode 3. And if that's what it is for you, if that's how your experiential, if that's what is already the case for you, you just let that be. Yeah, like you don't actually have to do this inward turn. It just helps to clarify what it just helps to clarify awareness. Like you get really clear on the fact that there is this awareness. But once you're clear on that, you don't actually have to keep looking back at it. Like if you're already clear on it, what do you need to look back at it for? Like it's already the case. You just continue in that. It's just that what happens is you'll be aware for some time, and then this distraction comes up. You know, your attention wanders, it gets drawn into something. And then there's this return to awareness. And then this can just continue like that. So it's really, if your attention didn't wander, if there were no distractions that captured your attention, you would be aware all the time. Because your mind has this awake nature. Yeah.
Even the wandering, like there could be just the recognition that there's something that knows that movement's happening. Like there.
Yeah. If you know, like what happens is when we're looking at the mental, you know, how this unfolds in meditation, you're aware, and the thought stream is arising, right? So there's all these thoughts that come up, and each one of those thoughts is also awake. But what happens is a particular thought or daydream will, like, your whole attention will go into it, and then you'll have a moment of not being aware. And that's really all that is. So the mind arises as both this, like, your mind is both the aware state and the unaware state. Like when the attention has wandered and your mind has, you know, you've gone into some daydream or something, your mind arises as that. And also when you're established in the knowing and you're aware, mind is also arising as that. So it has the capacity for both the forgetfulness, lack of recognition of itself, which happens in the wandering of the attention, and in the recognition of itself. Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, like if you already know what this awareness thing is, like the only reason you would do mode 2 is to just it does help establish the continuity. It does. Yeah, like when your mind actually is directed at itself, there's less of a tendency for your attention to go out here. And because of that, it's like there's this power that can build up, or the enlightenment factors can build up. So if you do this unfabricated awareness, you don't do anything, but then you find that you're kind of just like drifting in stories, and you're sleepy, and you're thinking about a bunch of things, and you're just totally distracted, then that means just do the inward turn and let that noticing become more continuous. And then when you feel like you're ready to let that go, then just let it go and let everything be. Because especially for beginners, if I tell you to just don't do anything and let everything be, then like not everyone's actually able to do that. Like that's something that has to be learned. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So like I said, you can leave whenever you like. By no means do you have to hang around for the next 3 hours. And yeah, bathroom breaks are fine or whatever. But you will see me just sitting and walking for the next 3 hours. Yeah. Or the next 2 hours and 40 minutes. So, all right. So let's all begin. And for those of you that I won't see at the end, hope to see you next week. If you have any questions, just email, or you can ask in the Discord, or message me on WhatsApp if you're actually, yeah, just message me on Discord. Never mind. Yeah, Discord or email. Oh yeah, and I don't do any guidance. So You just sit. Remember the instructions, or remember whatever technique that it is that you do or don't do, and just do that. All right.